Thank you. So anyone have a question?
Oh, I'm going to sit quietly in the background today.
You are, huh?
Well, I've missed 2 classes.
No one has a question.
Just am I doing it right?
Well, we'll look at that a little later.
I guess a question for 3.
Yep.
It's probably more of just am I doing it right question, but it seems like when you go to 3 and 6, there's a real opportunity to miss and collapse the midriff on that side. And it almost feels like I'm reaching, which I'm sure is wrong. But it feels like, when I try and incorporate that transfer of the weight forward and like that lean into it, that it feels like a reach, and then like part of like one shoulder pushes out more than the other one. So
the first thing I would say is really work on rooting your feet.
yeah, okay.
Because that whole movement at 6 and 9, 6 and 9, 3 and 9, excuse me, needs to be coming from the feet.
Okay. Okay.
Somebody else have a question there? Okay, so it's very easy as you're doing this to get focused into the upper body, and
Yeah.
off you go. And yeah, I can feel one shoulder when I do that, leading into that. But you want to really make sure that as you're going through here, that you're really rooted, and this movement is coming from your feet, not from, not only from the quad.
Okay.
So
That makes sense.
good. Anything for you? Okay. So one way of looking at the 6 movements of gods is that you're opening up the energy channels of your body. And it's a bit like peeling an onion. Movement 1 gets the outer stuff of the onion, and then movement 2 starts going closer in towards the middle. And then movements 3, 4, and 5, until by movement 6 or movement 7, you're right in the very center of the onion. And now you have actually got what the whole thing, the whole chi thing is about. But when you're first starting, you focus on certain things to a great extent so that you are clear and develop what's in each layer of the onion. And then later on, all the layers of the onion in every single movement simultaneously activate. But before they simultaneously activate, they really have to separately activate. Otherwise, it is very hard to combine them. Again, this goes back to the fundamental Taoist principle of separate and then combine. Now, the purpose of movement 4 that we're going to begin to work on this week is to open your left and right channels. Now, exactly what does that mean? First of all, when you start talking about actually opening up your left and right channels, that is something you would have done, hopefully, in spiraling energy bodies Qigong, if you had done it. But if we just talk about what we'll call the big stuff in the torso that goes roughly from your shoulder's nest down to your qua point, what you're trying to do initially is you start by getting the energy to run up and down your skin until it starts penetrating deeper and deeper and deeper until it's actually on the left and right channels. And remember that those channels are in the middle of your body. They're not just on the surface in front or back. What you're doing with your hand is that you are just making the energy go up and down your left and right channels. And that is setting up movements 5 and 6, where you'll take the energy from your left and right channels and bring it into your central channel. And that will activate your central channel. So just keep this in mind about the left and right channels, but don't expect that the first few times you do this to actually be on your left and right channels. You want to start by getting a very clear sense of this. Now, what you're doing in this and all the rest of the Qigong, like Dragon and Tiger, or even Heaven and Earth, when your hands are going up and down those lines, you're working with your etheric body. That's what they're doing. They're working from your etheric body toward your skin, and then are going deeper and deeper until from your etheric body, you are actually directly on the left and right channels, which is the main point, because the left and right channels activate thousands of smaller channels in your body, but you can't go to them directly. You have to open your body up to be ready to be able to take the energy and then integrate it. Now let's look at something else. This movement 4 is very strong in developing your sense of the 70% rule. You're going to be standing up and you're going to be folding and squatting down. And obviously that's going to use your qua and everything else. But the tendency is going to be for you to try and push going lower and using your quads. Instead, you have to release your buttocks and legs so that your legs release to bend. You do not push them down to bend. They have to release, because in that releasing, not only will you go lower, but that will ensure that your energy goes through your legs and actually down to your feet and into the ground. So this is an important point. So I want to make a clear distinction here about the body movements. And I'm going to focus just on 1, 2, and 4, because 3 obviously is something else. So in 1, if you remember, we were just doing a qua fold. So we were just folding at the qua as we bent down. In 2, we're doing a qua squat. So we're folding and bending forward as we go down and up. So we have just a qua squat. In movement 4, we actually do both. You start with a fold. And when you get to the 70% level of your fold, the end of that 70%, then you can go into a squat. And coming up. So 4 is a combination. You have to do both. You start with a fold and then bend forward, then come up. So I want you just to do this with me. So stand up. Now stay sideways because I think you can probably see me a little better that way. And don't use your arms at the moment. So simply do a qua fold, what you do in movement 1. Whatever extent you're using, and don't go too low. Remember to keep that sense of sitting back as you do it, not going forward. And then go into a squat, what we do in movement 2. So we're bending forward and folding at the same time. And that may very well go lower. So you have a qua squat. And now the basis of movement 4 is that you start with a fold, straight down, and then allow yourself to squat a little. And then you're coming up. So you start by going straight down in a fold, and then into the squat, and up. Good. Okay. Does anybody have a question about that? Okay. Sit down again for a minute. Okay. So another point that's useful to mention is that as we begin movement 4, you're starting to become really aware of your etheric body. For example, in movement 4, there's going to be a point where your hands go out to the side. And what you're trying to do is to be aware of the extent of your etheric body, and also you're pushing it out at the same time. So there will be a movement where we're working with it to the side. And then you're going to be continuing raising that etheric body up and bringing energy down through your left and right channels to open them up. So your etheric body extends to the sides of your body. So when your hands spread out at the bottom, they're actually taking your etheric field and opening it up so it becomes stronger. And once stronger, and you have your etheric field to the side, then you're going to actually lift the chi up through the field. And you're going to arrive at the center of it at the top, and then bring the energy back into your left and right channels. I'll show you the movement in a moment. And then you take it down again. So we're talking about working with the etheric body. However, you don't work with the etheric body in this way in Dragon and Tiger or Energy Gates or Heaven and Earth, but you do in Gods, because it is here that you can find a more complete and thorough way to work with the etheric body. So that's some rather important points. remember our work with the Kwa, and keep in mind in the more advanced portions of this program that will be in the more advanced portions of this program, that this is going to be done by closing and opening the center of your Kwa, the energy gate. What you're trying to do now is not necessarily open and close the center of your Kwa, but what you want to do is get all the muscles, including the psoas and fascia and tissues, to get to where they can move smoothly and easily, affecting the movement down into your legs and back up again. This is so that when later on you start actually opening and closing the Kwa, your body will provide no resistance to the energy that is being generated by that. This part of bending and stretching the Kwa is really going to be about preparing the tissues of your body to be energetically ready for opening and closing. So it's not like trying to go through a concrete wall, but more like you're working through water, which is considerably easier. Remember that the point of Qigong is to benefit your body and your mind. It is not just to do the movements well. Qigong should not have a sense of torturing yourself. Make sure that when you do the 70% rule, when you are sinking, you're feeling no pain, or if you do feel pain, then you want to make sure that you do not put pressure on your body. Don't try to go too far down. Do 70% as much as you can, and don't try to push to 100. So we'll look at the basic movement 4, and we'll look at the transition actually next week. But as we complete 3, we'll be coming back up to the top, and then we'll be folding, and then bending, squatting, and then beginning to come up, arms spreading out, elbows rotating down, and then bringing the energy down the left and right channels. So you're coming up, bringing the energy into your left and right channels, fold, squat, spread. So as you're coming down, bringing the energy through the left and right channels, and ideally eventually down through the legs into the feet, the arms are beginning to twist in, and they twist in all the way down to your hands are down to about the level of the lower dantian or the Kwa point. And then you're actually starting to rise, and they begin to twist out. And they keep twisting out by virtue of rotating the elbow down as you come up. And then in. And so let's just play with that a little bit. So simply presume that you have completed 3 and you've come up to the top of 3. The hands they may be palms facing each other. might be turned a little up, but they should not be in any way rotated down at that point. They've at least come to palms facing each other. And as you begin to fold down, not squat, but fold, then the arms are twisting in. And when you get as far as you can fold, you allow yourself to squat. And when you've reached the bottom, you begin to rise slowly. And in that rise, you spread to the side, rotate the elbows down, and rise all the way up to the top, where you're bringing the energy into your left and right channels as you sink and bend. Now, it's important to notice that you are slowly extending the arms and the body all the way up to the top. And then you're beginning to bend all the way down to the bottom. And then begin to straighten. Twist the elbows under. Twist the elbows out. Just keep going for a minute. So make sure, this is for you, Bill, but for everybody. When you have reached the bottom, you're starting to rise as you spread. And the arms continue to extend all the way up to this point. So they don't get up here and start bending in. They keep going out, 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 out. Now they come in, bring that energy into the left and right channels. Okay. Okay. Everybody on Zoom, pause for a moment. You're not doing what I just said.
What?
And it's I understand that a lot of what we do in God's at first is pretty counterintuitive. So from this point, you're extended. That doesn't mean locked elbows, but it does mean the arms are out. They begin to come in. That's the movement that brings the energy into the left and right channels. And down, and your arms are bending all the way down to this point. Notice I'm not straight, I'm bent. And then as you spread, they start to extend a little, but as you come up, they continue to extend, and they extend all the way to the top. So they're out from the body at this point. Not in here, they're out here. And then they bend, and that bend goes on all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, I'd totally missed the vertical rotation.
Yeah. So keep practicing. One of the points here is that the elbows are continuously rotating. So you best see this. When you go down from here, they are rotating out slightly. Seems like a fairly subtle movement, but it's going out. And as you spread, they actually begin to rotate in. And they're going down, in and down, all the way to this point. And then they begin to go out. So it's really important to get that rotation of the elbows, because that really connects to the scapula, which is, of course, the route to connecting to your spine. So Bill, Richard, and Nick, make your bend something that continues from the top all the way to the bottom. Not that happens in the first third of the movement. And then what happens is that often you start extending too early. Okay, so relax for a moment. So that is a difficult piece of this. I'm gonna take the body movement away for a moment. So notice that my arms are really out from my body.
Yeah.
They're not here, they're not here.
Yeah.
They're out here.
Yeah.
So as they go down, they are bending. So it is an arc, but it's not in and down. It's a very, very, very slow arc down, so that you can bend the arms all the way down to this point, and then they begin to straighten. They straighten a little, and then they continue to straighten all the way up to this point. this is the point when your rise completes. And then you want to feel that energy coming in. And I might just say, because I didn't say this before, I mentioned the left and right channels running through the torso. They come in through the top of the head and they separate and they go down the center of, not the center, just to the sides of the center of the head. And when they get to the torso, they separate out to those side channels in the torso. So actually, the ideal is that this extension going up is bringing the energy up to above your head and then into the left and right channels and down through the head, down through the body, and then out to into your etheric body. So that's something to work on this week. Anybody have a question in there?
No, I just think that I'm doing it just right, but I can't figure out what's wrong.
Well, what's happening for you guys is that you're not keeping the extension going, both of the body and the arms, all the way up to this point. And how, again, of course, how high your arms come depends on your body. If you get to this height and everything starts tightening up in your shoulder, neck, back, chest, wherever, then obviously that's as high as you go at the moment. So don't force yourself to go up above the head if that's not appropriate for your body to do at the moment. If you work with our good old 70% rule, gradually that will grow. So we are trying to extend up to this height, to the crown of the head, and then bend in to here and then up. So the tendency is somehow when you get about this far to start bending the arms in, and they don't. As they're coming up, they're continuing to go out. So one of the things
So
that
am I starting the bend down too soon? Is that?
perhaps
Yeah, okay.
the other thing is to recognize the connection of the elbows to the scapula. Bill Bynum likes this aspect. So when the arms are coming down, the scapula are actually being moved out by the elbows. And as you extend, the scapula are coming in. Now they start going out as you bring the energy down. So that's another connection to work with. Questions? Okay, relax for a minute. That. The rotation of the elbows in this is really important. So do be aware of getting that continuous rotation all the time through that movement. So we just put a lot of emphasis on the movement of the hands and arms, but we want to also be aware that it is actually the qua and the legs that are moving the arms. So not letting yourself lose the awareness of the importance of the qua and leg movement. Because you need you need that awareness also to make sure that the energy is going up and down your legs. That. So this movement actually can be very important for your lungs and your heart in terms of it moving the human body and not having problems. Try and understand one thing. Your elbow is a lever to your shoulder blades, and your shoulder blades provide a direct pressure onto your lungs and your heart. So the point here is the elbow has to be in constant rotation for the hands to come over at the top. The shoulder blades have to move because it is the shoulder blades that allow the elbows to move. Otherwise, the shoulder blades will freeze the motion of the elbows. So as the arms descend, coming down, the shoulder blades are moving outward all the way to the side. That's going to follow as your elbows move out. And then as you begin to go out and up, the shoulder blades are moving inward. And that helps your elbows to come in. Don't worry too much about exactly how your shoulder blades are moving, because that can drive you a little crazy at first. But what you have to keep in mind is that the ability of the elbow to be moving from one direction to another requires that the shoulder blades are making the same movement. The two are oiling each other, if you will, rather than grinding against each other. Of course, one of the other things to be continuously aware of is keeping your perineum open. So make sure that you don't allow the perineum to close. That very often will happen when you're sinking down. Particularly as you go into the squat, there can be a little bit of a tendency to close the perineum. So in your etheric body, you're doing three things. Number one, you're making the chi go to your feet or below. Number two, you're making the chi go sideways from your body. And then the third thing is you have your etheric body open from the bottom up to the top of your head, through your torso, through your quan legs down to the earth again. So these are the three outer movements that you're trying to have this particular movement control. There are two ways in which you can work with this. And really at the beginning, you should work with the first one, which is to really think of these movements as being piece by piece. In other words, there's one element and another and another and another, finding each of those pieces and being aware of them as you go through the movement. Eventually, of course, you want to be aware of everything happening at once. But again, you need to work on it one piece at a time. So any questions at this point? Okay. So what I'd like you to do is to do, well, considering the time, do 8 repetitions of 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm obviously going to be seeing if I can see anything that I can recommend to you. So just,
Number 3, 4 each way, or
yeah, before each way. When you do 3, indeed, Bill was just asking, if you're doing 8 repetitions, it would be 4 in each direction, not 8 each side. Okay?
Right.
Okay. Okay, relax. So everybody's making some headway here. If you think back, of course, a few weeks ago, you didn't do any of this. So you definitely are making headway. A few points along the way. In one, the thing that most of you seem to not be finding is keeping the wrists relaxed until that moment of extension, and then continuing to open the wrist so that the fingers point at least a little backward. It's not come up and out and in. You need this movement. It's interesting when you can feel it, that movement brings the energy actually from the back over the top of the head to the front. So it causes an opposite movement in your body, but a very specific over the top movement. In two, make sure that as you come up, that you're continuing to rise all the way to this point. And notice my hands. My wrists are open. My elbows, my shoulders, my scapula are open, and the palms are pointing outward. They're not here. And that's a distinction because again, here, this is related to your connection with the etheric body. Okay. In three, I think one of the things I would say for almost everybody is slow down. At the pace you were going, it was exhale, inhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. No, slow it way down. Feel the breath. Feel the whole movement. So when you go here, this is an inhale, exhale all the way to 6. Inhale, exhale all the way to 12. So don't rush it, slow it down. You don't have time to do the movement if you're whipping around. So slow down. Remember that the arms, the elbows are continuously rotating. So again, they're going out, they're going in, they're going out, they're coming back in. So there's a continuous movement in and out of the elbows.
David, will you say the breath for me again, please?
Sure. So, excuse me. In our in the transition from 2 to 3, so what happens here is you have to have a pretty long exhale. So you're exhaling down, and then you're inhaling. That's backwards, isn't it? I'm saying it backwards, sorry. You're exhaling, inhaling, I'll get there yet. Exhale.
Okay.
Continue the exhale a little and then inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Keep rooted there, both feet. Exhale. Okay.
So David, should our inhales and exhales through all of the movements be about the same rate?
No. But it should be in 3.
So thank you, because it seemed exactly backwards to me. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
Because we're inhaling and exhaling twice for a rotation and 3 and or 4 times.
4 times.
2 inhales and 2 exhales.
yep.
Inhale,
And-
exhale every quadrant.
And 1, 2, and 4, we're doing an inhale and an exhale to go through just
Yep.
one of each to
You're
go
right.
through a motion, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
I'm just used to inhaling when I come towards center and exhaling when I go away.
Yeah.
I need to lose that thinking, I think.
Yeah, for now. Uh,
I won't dwell on it.
Okay. 4 is new. We've talked about all the things that I would mention, so I won't I won't berate you again with that. Just look at the video. We're practice hard this week. One of the things I think I would say, and I probably already have said this, but I'm going to say it again, and I probably will say it many times more, is that God's is particularly not easy. And if you fall behind, it's nearly impossible to catch up. So whether you're online, here with me, miss it and have to use the video, find the time to practice, because this is one that's places a lot of demands. And so even if you could just do like 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that would certainly be a major help. So just you know how I feel about practice anyway, but I'm really emphasizing it in this. Last minute questions?
You start a new session next week?
Very likely.
Okay.
I don't remember. Bill was asking, do we start a new session next week? Possibly. I didn't look in my book this morning. When I send the notes and the video today, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions or thoughts at the moment? Good. Great class, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Have a good week, everyone.
Yeah.
Take care, guys.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Oh, no, just put it there. Sorry, you don't need to carry it around. Good, Bill. Good. I can see your practice.
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
The circularity of the whole thing is very appealing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, with everything is moving in circles. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yes, it is.
okay, have a good one.
Good. You have a good week too. I know there's somebody still here. I don't know where Joanne is.
I don't know. I hope she's doing okay. I know she was
Well,
having that issue with her knee.
she said she was a little better, but she was going to have to be on Zoom today, but she's not.
Uh,
So I don't know,
tied up with the kids or work, I guess.
I guess. Um, I'm not used to seeing you in this space.
I know. I hear you. I don't think I really like the Zoom thing.
You don't like the Zoom thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know we did it for a long time, but you know, after being in person, going back to it feels not very good.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough to get the nuances of what you're doing with your body.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a lot of them in this.
Yeah, there is.
But we do the best we can.
That's it. It just had to be this way today. That's all.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad for you that you got a roommate.
Yeah, it takes a lot of financial pressure off because I gotta say, you know, last week for the first time I think ever, my credit card balance was bigger than the bank account. And I was like, whoa, oh boy. I hope I can make that first mortgage payment. But yeah, it's gonna be all good. It's all gonna work out. So
Oh, good. Well, when you get things to flow.
yeah. So I guess a follow-up question for Gods,
Yeah,
just to make sure I'm wrapping my mind around things correctly. So in movement 1, we're really trying to build that pressure. Movement 2, we're taking that and trying to feel the extent of the etheric body. Then 3, kind of taking that energy, bringing it back into the connection with the organs, and breathing into the liver and spleen. And then 4, we're gonna go back to the etheric body and then bring that energy into the side channels.
yep.
Is that a good summary or a good way to kind of think about what the big picture of these movements is?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, because I found myself getting a little lost in the weeds. You know what I mean?
Well,
So many different individual pieces, and then it's like you go to flow, and I'm like, man, what am I doing again? Like,
yeah,
you know, trying to tie it all together. So
it's good in this as you're beginning, particularly as you're beginning to practice each movement with a pretty limited focus.
okay,
And then when whatever that focus is comfortable, bring in another one, because if you look at the notes, think about the classes, I've talked about a number of different things in each posture.
right,
What you picked out in your description of what you were thinking of focusing on at the moment is fine,
okay,
but there are all those other elements also.
right.
So it's sort of like, you know, you if you think about the energy in movement 4, you're getting it into the etheric body, you're raising it up through the etheric body, you're bringing it in to your left and right channel, and then you're spreading it out into the etheric body again. Well, that's fine. That is exactly what we're doing there. But at the same time, when you come down, the energy is not only coming down to the dantian and qua and out to the side, but it's going on down through your legs and into the feet. And so, you know, that's just another piece of it. So there are a lot of things happening all at once, and we are focusing at different times on different flows in the body.
Okay,
So initially, certainly in one in 1, 2, and 4, we are particularly focusing on that primary flow of feet to head to feet, or feet to head to hands, if you will. So you know that the Chinese, if you see a picture, they think of the body as being like this. So the hands are always as much or more the end of the circuit as the head is.
Okay.
So there can, we refer to them as the 5 points,
Mhm.
or the periphery. Did I ever work with you on Master Joe's breathing without breathing?
Yeah, we've touched on it before.
So if you remember, he talked about feeling the energy in your hair follicles and in your fingernails and toenails. He was trying to find, other ways for you to be aware of that. I mean, really being conscious of that, those sensations. Same thing, same concept, just another way of describing it.
Yeah.
And the center to periphery is also constantly occurring at the same time. So you have both of those circuits moving at the same time. It's not that one is happening and the other one stops. So that's another way you could be focusing. And obviously, that is the focus in movement 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes even more so in 5 and 6.
Okay.
But yeah, it's I'm not sure that this practice even follows what I have often said, that these practices are simple, they're not easy. Well, I'm not sure God's is even simple.
Right. I mean, no. I mean, even just doing what we've done, I understand why this would not necessarily be taught to most, I don't know, novice practitioners or people who have not been too invested in learning these types of practices so far.
Yeah.
Even having a background in a lot of the stuff we're talking about, it's difficult to kind of weave it all together.
Yep. Which is why this is, it's important to not expect the end in the beginning.
Yeah, right.
Not to put that pressure on yourself, because this is a practice that will grow for the rest of your life.
Right.
Right. And as I guess Bruce has said, that once you really incorporate everything into God's, you actually don't need to do any other Qigong practice.
Okay.
That you can accomplish anything you would do in any other Qigong practice with God's.
Okay.
So, blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think that's a ways off for me, but
Well,
yeah, maybe one day. Yeah,
it's only a glimmer on my horizon.
yeah.
I'm ahead of you guys, but I'm not that far ahead.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so interesting to think about, how these practices came to be, right? Like
Oh,
You gotta imagine like, a village of people, right? All doing everything they can to survive, to support, kind of the heads of the village who could then just have all day to do this, right?
well, I think most of the developments of these occurred in monasteries,
Right, you know. stick-
which were supported by the villages, indeed. So,
Right,
although many monasteries did do all kinds of things to support themselves. I mean, grew their own food and, actively did what they could to support themselves, but often were dependent on the villages around them.
right.
Uh,
You can just get a sense that these practices were made by people living at a very different pace of life.
yeah,
Yeah,
and over a long period of time.
right. Right,
That's the thing I think we have to really be aware of, that something like God's probably developed over perhaps as much as centuries.
mhm,
I mean, it didn't just appear full blown suddenly
Yeah.
in somebody's mind. It's the result of the growth of the awareness of all of this.
yeah, definitely.
So I have to admit, I did not even think about Tai Chi in this class today. So
It's okay,
I apologize.
it's okay, it's okay.
Um, Anything come up for you? I don't know if you even had time to practice this week.
I've had more time to practice this week than in the last couple of weeks, so that's been nice. Things are kind of settling out,
Yeah,
move, which is good, and kind of finding that new routine. And so I did have a little bit of time. Nothing particular for the form came up, no kind of issues or questions. I think a lot of it is just kind of taking the new sense of awareness that's growing in God's and feeling that out in the form.
Yep.
It's hard to say why, but whatever we're doing in God's, it seems to give a higher level of awareness of when you kind of kink the hose, so to speak, in the
Yep.
form, and then you can kind of just feel it immediately, like, oh, yeah, that transition was not very good. And coming back to it.
Yeah. Good. Well, keep up the good work. Actually, your gods looked a little better than some of the others. I think being here and you're a little better able to translate what I'm saying into movement.
Yeah, I think it just, I've always been kind of gifted with the physical movement part of it,
Yeah.
where I just can, I can get it pretty quickly, at least get what you're saying,
Yep.
especially like in 4, they're doing the quad fold and the squat, it's just like, oh, okay, so I think that helps. That
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Yeah, you don't have to put as much attention on that element.
Yeah, within a few repetitions I can kind of get that, like, okay, well, this is what the chunks of my body are going to do. It's just getting everything else coordinated and not doing the muscular part, trying to do the relaxing and get the energy to flow.
Yep.
So all right.
Okay. Well, hang in there. Have a good week.
You too.
Congratulations on roommates.
Thank you. Yeah. It's exciting, be cool.
Yeah.
They get moved in and everyone kind of settles out, but always a new adventure.
Absolutely. And always takes a long time to get a new place really fitted out and
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of the next project, you know, there's a lot of stuff I don't have. A kitchen
yeah, you said.
For one, still. I'm still trying to coordinate with this guy on Facebook Marketplace, and just our schedules just don't seem to line up for when I can like get a truck to go
Yeah.
get the table.
Uh,
It takes a while. You know, so,
yeah.
but I'm
Oh,
trying
but-
not to get overwhelmed with it. Keep it fun, you know,
Yep, do your best on that.
that's all.
Okay, buddy.
I'll see you next week, David. Have a good one.
You too, Adam. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.